Hello and welcome everybody. This is Taco Movie Talks, week 19. We have a couple movies to go over, a couple movies for you, but before I get into that, I'm brought to you here with the Big Chung, aka Big Chungus. How you doing, Big Chung?
I'm doing alright. A little exhausted from
From
doing
a
yeah,
move.
from doing everything this weekend.
Yeah, so we lived together and we had lived together prior. And I told her straight up, I said, you're going to have to do the heavy lifting on this one cuz I'm tired. And she took it like a champ. She did everything. I got to sleep in late. I got to go to bed early. And and I got here today and everything was put up, everything was where it should be, and I appreciate that from you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I wish it would have been done faster by you, but you can't. If you want something done right, do it yourself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But I mean me. No, I kid. Big Chung worked really hard. I not so much, but I tried my best, and got the people pizza. And it was Domino's pizza.
It was really good. Might have been my favorite pizza.
I still regret it because I feel like I ate like a type of lava that evolves in your body, and it gets hotter the more that it stays in your tummy. Because I have this sort of heartburn that hasn't gone away after 24 hours. And I think I've heard on commercials where it's like if something doesn't go away after like 24 hours, you should consult a doctor. So I think I'm at that place right now. But that's enough about me, I think. I think that's more than the fans need to know.
Probably.
So, if you want me to shut up about this, like and subscribe to the channel and we'll get into the movies finally. So we're going to wait until you do that, and then we'll talk about the movies. So first, we're going to talk about When Harry Met Sally. And this is a romantic comedy that dates all the way back to 1989. And I have to say, I think it really sets the mold for romantic comedies and how good they can be done. Agreed?
Yeah, I mean, I love romance movies, like, you know that. And I'm surprised I've never seen this one up until last week.
It's the area of expertise.
Yeah.
The romance movie. You love romance. Some of your favorite movies are romantic movies.
Yeah.
Grease.
Love Grease. Notebook.
You love The Notebook. You
Longest Ride.
Yes. Which has Miley Cyrus in it.
That's the last song.
Yes.
Longest Ride has Scott Eastwood.
Very good actor, very good actor. I
Yes.
loved him in The Outpost, and obviously his dad, the famous Clint Eastwood, is one of the movie icons throughout the ages. But this one is directed by Rob Reiner in 1989, as I believe I said previously. But I think Rob Reiner is he was in a few movies that I've seen. I think he was in The Wolf of Wall Street and played Jordan Belfort's dad in that movie, but he's definitely not known to be an actor. But he's a great director as far as this film goes. And might get said for a lot of different movies too much, but it seems like a more accurate depiction of a romantic relationship. As far as it's like, sometimes the people don't click at first. But how those relationships kind of blossom and evolve is displayed perfectly in this one. But before I kind of swing it your way on how you thought it was portrayed, I gotta say Billy Crystal, which is this gentleman here on the right, looked a million times better with the beard than without it. And the fact that Meg Ryan wanted to be with him without the beard, I think is how you know it was true love. And you liked Meg Ryan's. You liked her hair.
I loved her hair throughout the whole movie. It was
Yeah.
different hairstyles. I was like, I have short hair, so I was like, when I grow mine out, like, I'm gonna copy her hairstyles. I'm so excited for when my hair grows out and I can
Try out
actually,
these early 80s to late 80s styles.
love that kind of hair.
It's coming back, and I've always said it's the role of 30 years. Maybe a little more than 30 years. Maybe closer to 40. But like 40 years after the fact, everything that was once cool is now cool again. And that's why 70s music was so hot for a minute. Still love it. Still love classic rock. I'm always going to listen to Skinner. I'm always going to listen to Zeppelin. I'm always going to listen to Black Sabbath. But it's only cool because it's 40 years old.
Speaking of trends, if anyone went to high school in the like 2010, 2020, like that era, I wonder when those Snooki bangs are gonna come make a comeback, because I remember that was the hottest style in high school. Everyone was like, would spend like 20 minutes just trying to get the perfect like bang thing.
Anything inspired by the Jersey Shore character Snooki, I think, you look back and hindsight's 2020, but you also think to yourself, why did we look to a person whose nickname was Snooki as a person to be the trendsetter for the future? You know?
I just think like teens now are dressed so much better than we were. I remember like we had the camis pulled all the way down with like the t-shirts tied in the back. Do you ever remember any? Put it like that, like camis down to your knees, like the tank tops with the t-shirts.
I don't even know what camis are, but to be fair, I don't know what a lot of things are called, but I think I've seen it. Yeah, fashion back in our heyday was
way different.
Yeah. But I think maybe we didn't quite miss out on it. Maybe we're about to reveal a deep, dark secret of Big Chung. But we, I think, missed out on like the emo, goth girl look where their hair is just like pasted like that. And it's like big, you know what I'm talking about? Have heavy eyeshadow and... You didn't miss out on that. You took part of that?
Pretty sure.
Okay. Well, then we got hit by pretty much the worst things you could get hit with generationally as far as style goes. But you can't blame us. We were kids.
We were, and it's you live and you learn.
And we also had the advantage of being able to ruin our own lives from the comfort of our bedrooms because we had the technology to do so. Whereas Harry and Sally, you know how I think they should have picked up on this. If you talk to someone until you fall asleep on the phone with them, you love them.
Yes, they did that. And I was like, I don't know how you sit there.
And they weren't even dating.
No, your friends watching the same movie, talking to them as you're watching the movie. And it's just like, do you like talk about the movie? Do you not say anything? Like, what goes on?
Yeah, I mean that's it's definitely love, because you feel like you need to stay up with each other, and then, but I loved those two characters. They were so strong that they made Carrie Fisher just kind of like seem like barely a background character.
And she's a huge
actress.
Yeah, I thought they both were really good from start to finish. Like, I loved watching their love blossom into like this huge, like you saw it like develop slowly. It was definitely a slow burn.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought it was really funny too.
It was.
Which, I think you can always appreciate these older comedy movies. And I'm sure people are rolling their eyes when we call it an older comedy movie, but I mean it's over 30 years old now. Yes. Over 30 years old, coming up on 35 years. So, but it doesn't seem aged very much in that perspective.
No, if you told me it was done in 1989, I wouldn't believe you if I didn't see it
Yeah.
right there.
Seeing is believing.
I know.
I gave this one, I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So, really solid entry, and it's one of the few romance movies covered on my channel, which will likely change as more and more videos come out, but it's not my forte. So if I like it, then I think, it passes the guy kind of approval, because I think a lot of guys can find the cliches to be boring or not like certain romance cliches, but this kind of, it set the mold, but it also doesn't fall victim to cliches. So it's like the best of both worlds. And it's one that you don't have to be like someone who just loves romance movies to appreciate, I guess is what I'm trying to say. What about you? What did you rate this one?
I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. Just because I love romance movies.
Yes. That's a high score.
It is, especially for me.
Yeah, it's
We know I rate them so high.
but that's okay. I mean, because you could argue. I mean, it's like you actually like movies, and then the people who say they love them, myself included, I'm like, we rate them lower. And it's like, I thought you loved movies, but you're rating them so low. Not Han Solo, just... So, my jokes so far have been terrible. I think this is a good time to ask the fans, do you like when Tacco tries to be funny, or are you absolutely sick of it? So, say spicy taco if there's too many jokes, and then say non-spicy tacos if you think the opposite of what I just said. Now we're on to 1917. This is Sam Mendes's World War I tale that was awesome. I'm a huge fan of war movies. Quite frankly, I haven't seen enough of them. And World War I is, quite frankly, way too underrepresented as far as war movies go. Megan, you got to watch bits and pieces of this one.
Correct.
From what you saw, did you like it? Was there anything that stuck out?
I thought it was really well shot. I love I don't know what you would call it. I just love the film, how they filmed it. But the only thing sticking out right now, when I think of the movie, is him kicking the wall at the exact same place. This one place he just kicks it.
Yes.
Where it was. I was like, I don't know. That's the only thing that sticks out right now.
So for those of you who did watch the film, and even for those of you who didn't, there's a scene where we have the main character. He woke up in the middle of the night after banging his head, falling down the steps, and he happens to be in the middle or in the midst of where German soldiers are. I believe it's German soldiers. And anywho, he's on the run. He's trying to get away from a soldier firing at him. He backs up and just real nonchalantly just kicks open a window, which then leads him to escape through this window that's pretty inconspicuous, which seems okay, that's pretty convenient. In my mind, I try to just explain it away that before he started backing up, he saw it. But what made it funny, okay, now I'm digging real deep into the woods. So he meets I think a not Dutch woman in that she's from Germany, but from the Netherlands rather. Speaks to her, she's in the middle of this war zone. He's like, I'm so sorry, I have to go. I gotta get this message to the front lines before thousands of soldiers die. Walks through the front door. Leaves the front door open in the middle of a war zone with a baby and a mother by themselves. So...
Completely forgot about that part.
that part I audibly laughed out loud and thought it was not because, and it's a small detail, but and I never thought I would be a person to even pick up on small details, but nonetheless, it didn't detract from it for me. What really did make this movie stand out was there was a spectacle to it. There were spectacular shots. There was an airplane crash that was absolutely phenomenal. There was emotion. I also thought there was like real short bursts of just great performance going on here. The main guy is a real steady hand throughout. He was really good, but there was two actors in particular that I thought like when they were on screen just absolutely dominated. One was Benadryl Cumberbatch. He absolutely dominated when he was on film. Some people didn't like him, his entry into the film, just because he's such a well-known actor that they thought it took away to have like this recognizable face. I don't feel that sentiment. And then I think it's Andrew Scott was another one. He was like a British captain who was like just under fire for like I think days. And his performance was just captivating. He was on screen for maybe 5 minutes, and it was amongst the highlights of the film for me because his performance was so strong.
So let me get this straight though about the movie. He's what do they call him? Like him and the guy there, they were supposed to deliver this message to the front lines, right? Correct?
Mm-hmm. I think they would just be, I guess, messengers.
Messengers. So then they went, and then one of the messengers died. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
And it was like this whole journey. Like he met up with people, but they were going back, but he had to deliver to the front line, and then he ends up meeting
The guy's brother.
Who he wanted to.
Yeah, that was one of the huge motivations why the guy wanted to do this so strongly. Not this guy, but the man who died.
Yeah.
Was to save his brother. But what was the question that you were...
No, I just wanted to make sure I got the storyline correct.
Oh.
I just bits and pieces, so I didn't.
Yeah. And it plays into kind of a common trope that I don't know if you could call it a trope, but it's reemerged, over the decades of cinematic history, predating all the way back to Stanley Kubrick's Paths of Glory, while kind of taking a different approach where these leaders send men to do something that's going to be like completely catastrophic to them as a unit. This takes the approach of like trying to correct that and the lengths that people would go to save their fellow soldiers. And it's like it definitely takes a lighter look at war, but also how profound an effect the weight of what you're being asked to do can have on you when you're a young man and you have all this chaos going on around you and you're asked to go against odds and do this impossible mission to save lives. And it almost beckons the question of, is that fair to put so much responsibility on people who are, not even old enough to drink in a lot of circumstances?
Oh, is that a question?
Well, yeah. I mean, what do you think about like an 18-year-old is asked to, let's send you to the opposite side of the world and do something that very few men can do?
I don't know. This might be a different take, but it's just like one versus thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I was 18, I definitely would like I'd want to hope. No one can really know if they're not until they're put in that situation, but I'm sure if they'd say no, like at that time they'd get killed. So it's either like try to save them and maybe die or like say no one dies. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 1 versus 1,000. I don't think it's fair, but it's something that like has to be done.
Yeah. And I think it ultimately changes people and how big of an impact that had on the world as a whole. That's like a lot, like thousands of people and generations following were kind of shaped by the people who were shaped by this war. And the fact that it took place again in World War II and had an even... This was one.
Oh.
But you would think after how World War One played out, people would say, let's never do that again. But lo and behold, you know, almost 20 years after the fact, it takes place again, and then it probably has an even larger impact on the global scope. Ultimately, I thought this was super well directed. There was really ambitious and crazy takes that Mendez was able to execute and capture. And I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Big Chung, what did you give this one?
From what I've seen, I'd give it like a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, and that's one of the few times that I rate a movie higher than Big Chungus, but it
Doesn't I just want to say it doesn't mean I hate it. I just
No,
it's not my like.
Of course.
Everyone has their preferences. Like
yes,
historical
genre can play a huge
Yes.
role into ratings. And I know that. I definitely have biases. I think like in before we kind of close out this episode, if you don't mind, just a quick little short discussion, I guess, about rating as a whole and the genres that we like. And I would love to hear the viewers, your genres. What do you like? What affects your ratings? And while you do that, like the video and subscribe, because we really appreciate y'all joining us every video. But I want to ask you, I know I have genres that I like more than anything. Like in my top 4 movies, I have 2 samurai movies. You know, I have Kill Bill Volume 1, I have 7 Samurai. I clearly have a bias towards samurai movies and like these big action sequences. And you, like you said, you love romance movies, but I don't think that takes away anything. In fact, it's almost like it becomes your expertise. And it's like, so if something coming from you, if you're like, that was a bad romance movie, like, I would believe you. Because you love romance movies, and if you didn't like it, something's wrong with it. There is clearly an element missing. But how do you, just kind of a feel, do you try to use like other movies as like, this is a 10 for me, and I liked it just a little less, or like I almost liked it just as much as this, or...
So I would just like to say, don't judge me. This is how. So it's a little like when I was in high school and junior high. I don't know if you were huge on Facebook or MySpace.
Mm-hmm.
You would be like,
I'm the creator of MySpace, so I was very active on that.
I'm sure you were, but it's just like you had like these you posted rates, like TBH and rates. So like you'd be honest, you'd post on their wall.
You just gave like a number of viewers like a flashback to a time period. You unlocked a memory in people they didn't know existed until this moment.
I know, and you'd be like, to be honest, like blah blah blah, and then like rate like 7, and like 7 was like, if you got a 7, you're like, or like 6, you're like, oh, like dang,
yeah,
like you were so
they
upset.
must not like me, yeah.
So like 7 to me is average. Because that just like growing up, like on like seeing that, like that was just like overall people in high school and junior high, like that was the average rating. So that's how I base mine. Like 7 is average, and then like, so I don't really base it on other movies. I just base it on like what I think average.
Yes.
And up.
So, and if anyone attacks Big Chungus, in the comments. I'm gonna quote Taken. I will find you. But no, for me, I tried 5 is my average, although I don't give it out very much. Literally, if a movie excels at anything, and everything else is at pretty baseline, you have to do something bad, and then everything else average to go below. But if I think Night of the Demons. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
The makeup was good, but everything else to me felt like super super average. It wasn't doing anything new. Nothing else was really exciting, but I was like, the makeup is amazing. So I gave it a 6. But that movie, I wouldn't recommend it. People do like it. You'd have to really know them. But that's where I'm at. So I'm generous, but my average is lower than your average. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but yours makes sense. Mine's just basing off personal experience.
Yeah, and I get that. And I also think you I feel bad. I never want to underrate a movie, especially when you're I could see how other people like this. You're less likely to, me personally, give it an even lower rating than what I do. And there will be some movies that I really like, but I'm there's flaws. It's not an objective science. Art is objective.
Yes.
And cinema is art, but I think it is awesome, and I love Letterbox, and I love doing this because you can get other people's thoughts and get to share them with people and help them make the determination of what they should watch, because ultimately you're giving up at least an hour of your time.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure you watch something you're going to enjoy. And hopefully we helped you discover or think back to a couple movies that you've watched and enjoyed, and maybe spark you to rewatch them, or join us in our discussion and debate. I know this debate got heated, Big Chungus. I hope you will accept my apology for really going for the jugular whenever we were debating our rating systems.
It's all good in the past.
Water under the bridge, right? Well, fans, viewers, we love you. Again, be sure to like and subscribe. Otherwise, I think Big Chungus is gonna have a mental breakdown. But, and not just her, me as well, because she had a difficult move, and she was generous enough to give us her time, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Big Chungus. You did 3 episodes back to back to back. You are an absolute trooper, and I hope y'all enjoyed her being on this week 19's episodes. Thank you, Big Chungus.
Thank you.
And we will catch you on the flippity floop. Bye, y'all.